Anyways, we're talking about this tent. I got this for this trip in anticipation for a big ride down to South America. And the cool thing about this tent is it doesn't have any poles or stakes, and it doesn't need them. What it is a tent that straps onto your bike. And the company that makes this, in full disclosure, they haven't sent me this. I saw this online. I have the link to where you can buy it and the price and everything down on the description. And you essentially stake this to the ground and tie it onto your bike. And I thought it was an interesting design idea. And I think I am going to take this on my trip because the form factor is super, super small. There are no poles, very easy to carry. And I like some of the features that are in it. The tent was actually designed, I think, more for people who ride, more the hipster crowd. And before anybody starts hating on me, I'm talking about the custom Triumphs and people that are doing kind of the easy rider type scene. And no hate on those guys, they're awesome. It's just you can tell that it is designed for those bikes because the tent itself isn't very tall, and that's to accommodate for handlebars and risers and things that they use. It would be awesome if they came up with an adventure model that was about a foot or two higher, because as you can see, it would be able to reach the handlebars on the GSA or a GS or Triumph Tiger or any of the other KTM adventure bikes, etc. And I'm going to go through it a little bit in detail with you guys, and we'll go through it and take a look at pros, cons, how it did last night. We did get a couple of sprinkles, and we'll go through it in detail. So stay tuned for this. Bad Hombre's headed south, and we're looking at this tent. The tent is very well made. First of all, let's go through it here. So it has two entryways. It has one on each end, and you can see here some of my gear that's up here, and you can see right through it. It has mosquito nosium type material, so it has two flaps on both ends, and then on the inside, which I think is very cool, it has a little opening up there, if you can see. And that stays open no matter what. Now, you might think, well, what if it rains? And we're going to look at that in a bit. It is a bathtub construction, you can see. And so this bottom piece here is very heavy duty waterproof material. I really like this. This here is a very nice touch. And I'm not a big stickler for these tiny details, but they do make a difference. And that is this ear that comes out here. It comes at an angle where the peg goes in at a perfect angle, as opposed to having it lay flat. And so what it does is it torts the tent very nicely, and it's heavy duty material. I mean, inside here there's actually a little plastic piece, if you can see. I think it's plastic, but that just stands it up, which is very, very, very cool touch. Zips themselves, very good quality zips. You could see they're good for waterproofing, etc. The only drawback I could see from getting in and out of the tent is one thing is it doesn't have an awning. So I've been caught out in the rain before where I've had to boil some water kind of in an awning situation out here. And excuse me, it's still early morning. You can't do that with this tent. And I think there are ways around it. So it's not a complete deal breaker. And I'll show you those features. So they're essentially, you stake it on the ground in each corner, and then there is a stake in the middle here, and then there is a stringer that comes out that you stake out, so to make sure you get enough taunt on the actual total tent, so if it does rain, water is just going to run down that. Okay, now how does this whole contraption attach to the bike? And that's very, very important. Here you could see last night it did cool down, but I decided to leave the back end open just so I could get a breeze through. and I closed the front, which was the area we saw previously. But because you have this area and then the vent over there, I got zero condensation. And remember, this tent doesn't use a fly, it's a single construction. Now, I've used a variety of tents. I'm a bit of a tent whore, actually. So one of the tents that is one of my favorites, but has dropped out of its #1 spot, is the Nemo tent, which has the air beams. And I love how small it is. I think it's a very cool design, and I love those guys, and I wish they would come up with revised versions of their product. But after using it for about 2 years, and I'm probably using it 3 to 4 times a year for a couple of nights, bits have started to fall off, and I've had to glue some bits on, and they have a very extensive way on their website to to fix those pieces, but very little support in terms of them doing it for you. And so, depending on what kind of a rider you are, that will tell you whether you want to buy those kind of tents. But they're absolutely great. Big drawback with the, and again, not slagging on the Nemo tents because I do love them, is a lot of condensation, a lot. And I typically camp in areas where there is low humidity, but even guys I've seen on the line who, in the East Coast where there's humidity and stuff, they constantly complain about the amount of condensation. I can't imagine in a high humidity area what you would do with that. So, how does this attach to the bike? Well, it does have these straps here, and it has 4 of them, 2 on each side. And these straps are very well made, and they have clip-ons, if you could see. You could see this one a lot easier. And again, I didn't take my own advice and try this at home. I laid it out, but I didn't connect it to my bike, and so I figured it out last night, and it took me a whopping 2 minutes to figure it out. Essentially, on the GS's or any adventure bike, you could strap those 2 points onto anything. And what I've done here is I use the upper crash bar on the GSA, but you could do it to your handlebars, which would be really cool. And then on the back side, I did it to my pannier or one of the rear luggage crash bars, and that's pretty cool. Then it has this whole section here, which is supposed to, if you go to the website, go over the bike. So this section here is supposed to go all the way over. And I guess I could do it, but I'm going to talk about why I couldn't in terms of the limitations of this tent. And again, just as a reminder, I'm using this tent for adventure purposes, where it was not built for that. That section is supposed to cover your bike seat and keep it dry, which is a very cool feature. Now, the reason why I wasn't able to use it for that purpose, I should say, is because I have a boxer engine. So if you take a look out there, I've got a cylinder head, and you could mount this tent on either side, and for a variety of reasons, the sun, etc., I decided to mount it on this side. And so 2 big things you've got to think about when you mount this tent. First one is your exhaust. You got to make sure that the bike is cool before you put the tent on there, or you're going to melt your tent, or worse, catch it on fire. So, I didn't have a problem waiting for it, because honestly I had to remove the panniers, which I use as tables or as seats, and I've got all my stuff in there, so I usually remove them anyway. And then that cylinder head that's on the other side, you've got to make sure that the engine is cool. Okay, now once you've done that, it's very easy. You can see here where I've strapped the tent onto the back luggage, or where the rear pannier goes, and it's very taut, it's very good. I wish it was a little bit taller. I think I'm going to send this video to these guys, because I really think they're onto something here. Nobody's doing this kind of design, and I really think that they could come up with an adventure size that would be epic. It would basically be about 1 foot or 1.5 feet taller